All right. So looking at attention when rest, a bigger piece of this that you need to consider is that your ability to relax or turn off um, affects both your active and your inactive states. So if I had a rubber band, for example, if I'm able to rest and relax, it can get short, and I have all this ability to create movement, force, use my tissues. If my rubber band, which is our body, cannot rest, cannot let go, we basically stay here. So now we have this tightness and we only get a little bit of extra movement. So that's the performance side of things. The rest side of things is straight up if you cannot turn your body off, it stays in this kind of anxious working mode. You never get the rest and recovery. You also don't know what off is, which is kind of a big deal. And if you don't know what off is, you don't really know what on is. So we kind of stay in this nebulous middle. So I really want to acknowledge both sides of the coin here. Okay. If I go over the assignment real quickly, are we in shared screen? Can you guys see that?
No, you're not sharing your
Okay.
screen.
Thank you. Let me do that. The button's highlighted. All right. Now I got it. Cool. All right. So when I asked you, basically, I asked you, hey, 3 minutes, set a timer, then answer these questions. You'll see at the bottom, I appreciate your honesty. Many of you looked at the questions, and that's okay. But so where did your mind drift to? 99% other things, other people, other places, other times. People have trouble grounding into the moment and not drifting off elsewhere. Okay. Again, if you look through this list, work, life, myself, the world, what should I do today, what I did yesterday, them, they, everything, your mind was out here and your body is kind of just left behind. Very few people paid attention to what's inside their body. Okay. First thing to note. Where did most of your weight sit? So this question hopefully will bounce back. When I said lay, my assumption was that you would lay long with your legs down. Now, can I get a person or two to let me know? Did you lay long or did you have your knees bent?
I laid down long,
Okay, I have a long.
knees bent.
Anybody anybody else agree with long or knees bent?
I
Knees
did
bent.
long.
Okay, long knees bent. And the reason I'm asking this is because I have a lot of folks saying that most of the weight was in their back. So if my feet are bent, that makes a lot of sense. If my legs are long, and I still feel it in the back, then the question is, well, why don't you feel weight in your legs? Right. And it could be an attention thing too, because most of our weight could be in our torso. But okay, kind of a smattering, mostly long, but some people bent leg. Um, how many times did you change position? Basic answer was like 2 to 5 times. I had a lot though saying never. So my question to these folks is that when I said lay, did you freeze? Did you freeze and tense up and feel like you needed to stick there and not adjust position? Anybody have an answer for that? Did you feel that you had the liberty to adjust or that you needed to stay frozen?
Well, for me personally, it was a lot more that I was so inside like my thoughts and heads that I didn't realize if I was moving or not. So to me, it was like I just stayed still.
Perfect. Thank you. And that's what we do. We do all the time. We escape our bodies and we live in this head. And then when we ask about the body, we don't have an answer. So, and it's like this imaginary mind world is so much more interesting to us because we've never known this to be interesting. So, thank you for that. Anybody else had a feeling that they either thought they needed to stay frozen or felt that they could move?
I don't know. For me, I don't know. It's like kind of weird because like I felt very comfortable when I was like just like sitting like still. Like
Hmm.
maybe like I just moved my hands a little bit, but I also like was also thinking about like my breath and stuff, so it kind of helped me relax more.
Excellent.
Didn't feel like I needed to move as much.
Okay. Thank you. So you just you gave yourself the freedom, but you noticed you didn't really move that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you also didn't feel like you needed to stay put. A lot of kids are on that side that when someone says lay down, they're like, okay, don't move, don't do anything. Eyes open and closed. Excuse me. A lot of smattering here. 50-50 open closed. Had a few that were open, then became closed, and then went back to open, or vice versa. We need to understand that our eyes are a huge input sensationally to the body. So when we are lying down and our eyes are open, we're going to kind of pay attention to where our eyes go if we have a focal point. If we don't have a visual focal point, we're generally going to use our ears to try to ground us into space. Okay, but our eyes will overload anything. Our eyes are kind of our number one sensory input for most. So if you want to get inside your body, you want to shut your eyes so that you turn off the brain going there so you can look inside. How deep were your belly breaths? Or how deep into your belly were your breaths, right? I think most of us will notice when we do this again in a moment that a lot of times our breath stays up here in our chest. It doesn't get grounded deep, specifically if you've never worked on or paid attention to breath before. Something I want to kind of hopefully connect for you. When I am frightened or scared, my breath looks like this. Mouth opens tight, everything stays up here. Again, I don't know if I need to like run or fight or do whatever. So if we breathe in that state, particularly mouth open, keeping everything high, we are existing in that state. So it's very hard to kick it into another gear and fully let go. Okay. Which was longer? Your inhale, breathing in, exhale, breathing out, or not sure. Again, honestly, a lot of you, not a natural thing to notice, especially if you've never practiced or looked at your breath before. Most of you of the rest said inhale. Personally, I would agree that my inhale tends to be a longer thing. With the exhale, breathing out, I want you to make this connection, please. Breathing out, exhaling, is literally letting go. So if I bring in and keep and bring in and keep and bring in and keep, again, I become this kind of super alert, stiff being, and I never can let go. Okay. The exhale is responsible for kind of the calm of the brain, right? Consider when you're just like, just that gesture of there's a lot to do and it's like a reset. Okay. Also consider, when do you do the work? Do you work to breathe in and then let the body do the exhale? Or do you work to breathe out and let the body do the inhale? Just kind of consider this when we go into our little exercise in a moment. Nose through mouth, a lot of you are nose only. Again, think of when you are taxed. If you have been running or playing basketball or something, you are typically, again, higher arousal state through the mouth. So if you don't want to be as anxiously aroused, you want to try and take things in and out through the nose, that more calmer type of breathing. This was great. Most of you, for the most part, did not struggle with the 3 minutes. About 30% did. And again, think of that anxious busybodiness. Body part paid attention to was all over the place, right? And I am curious as to why a part took your attention, right? Could you feel it was shaking or nervous? Was it uncomfortable? Any thoughts from the group there? No dice? That's okay. And I guess the other side of this question was, were you looking at this body part to notice it? Or did you just feel it come into your attention? Something to consider. Okay. Did anything feel unpleasant, uncomfortable at any time? It's about 50-50 yes to no. This is generally why we change positions. Another big picture. Please hone in here. If laying on the ground, and what I mean by the ground, I really mean the floor and not a bunch of blankets and pillows that kind of holds you into this space, but a flat surface. If your body can let go, you will melt into that surface. There will be no need to hold anything up. So if you have an issue laying on the ground, you probably have some sort of posture or position issue of holding yourself and not being able to let go, even when you should be resting. And if you think about when you sleep, if you have to prop yourself up in a certain way, another sign that maybe my posture or position, generally posture more than position. We'll get to this tomorrow. There is a holding pattern that is a bit dysfunctional. Because if I cannot lay perfectly flat and relax laying down, I'm holding myself in a rounded or twisted position for some reason. Okay, something to consider. Lastly, I love this. Honesty check. I looked at the questions before laying. About 40% of you were like, yeah, I did. That's okay. Again, we tend to be uncomfortable going into something without knowing we're getting into. And we also want to do things well. So we tend to take a quick peek and like, okay, I can do this. All right. So please, if you will, we're going to take 3 minutes. We're going to try to go through this one more time. But this time I'm going to guide you and I'm going to do it with you. So if you are on your nice comfy bed, please try to get to the floor. If you are like in the kitchen or something and there's people all around you, just kind of see what you could do as best as you are. But if you can get to the ground, please do. And also, please start with your legs long. I'm going to get our timer here. Okay, give you a few moments to get into position. Again, just find comfortable long body position. If you need to adjust, adjust. I'm going to give you about a 30 seconds to get into it, and then I'll start guiding you. Okay. Assuming the position. Ready? Go. So for this first minute, what I want you to do is ground yourself in the room. Whether that is staring at the ceiling at a certain point, whether that is listening to the hum of a heater or something, I want you to either use your eyes or your ears or both or flip back and forth, but do not let your mind wander anywhere else. You're not thinking about anybody else, any other time. You're staying right here. Some of you might think of this as zoning out, but do not let any intrusive thoughts come in. Next, keep your attention here and just pay attention to your breathing. Don't change anything, just notice and observe. Notice whether your ribs are doing more work, your belly is doing more work, or both are doing the work. So where is the air going? Into the ribs only, into the belly only, or both? Just notice. Take notice if you're breathing through your nose or your mouth and try to keep everything through the nose. Now, I want you to switch and emphasize the belly, bringing air in and pushing air out. If your hand is resting on your belly, it should be going up and down. Feel your belly expand and feel your belly empty. Really focus now on emptying that air as much as possible, emptying that belly, every last ounce of air out, elongating that exhale. You want your exhale to last longer than your inhale. 30 seconds. Last one. Okay. So take your time, kind of get back to your phone or computer. You could keep laying if you'd like. Just try to snap somewhat out of that mindful position. First question to ask for a please answer is, was that different than what you did on your own? And I'll stop sharing so I can see any chats.
Yes, that was.
Okay. One yes. Thank you for the difference. Would you say you feel more relaxed or less relaxed or the same afterward?
I feel like about the same or a little bit more.
Okay. Would you kind of agree that when you have someone telling you what to do, that it's easy to just do it instead of figuring out what to do?
Yeah, definitely, because you have to think about it and then you get intrusive thoughts and then it just kind of goes
Yes.
over.
Yes, thank you. Were you guys able to keep the extra thoughts away? Were you able to stay in the moment for the 3 minutes?
Yeah, surprisingly.
Ah, okay. And so again, all my voice was is directing attention. That's okay, Daisy. Thank you for the heads up. If you kind of want to take this on your own, again, the 3 minutes is irrelevant. This could be, you're trying to go to sleep and your mind's anxious and you're like, oh, just shut off already. Take that mind and bring it inward. Right? Instead of like thinking tomorrow, this person, them, Thanksgiving, bring it in and just look at the breath. Think about getting it into the belly instead of the ribs. Was that something new for folks? Or did we always get it into our belly?
I usually always like breathe through my chest, so breathing through my belly was a different thing.
Ah, and do you think that it helped in that sense of calm?
Yeah, because there's something different that, because
Yeah.
like thing is like normal to me, so it's kind of like different.
And it's funny how like this thing we do all the time and take for granted becomes an experience.
Yeah.
Right? So the idea is, and this is the idea of belly versus ribs, is that as you inhale, it doesn't stop at the ribs, but it goes all the way down.
Mhm.
And then as you exhale, it goes from the belly up. So again, we get this big, long, safe, secure air in and air out. If we're only kind of going halfway, consider the speed and the rate, and consider if the breath in and out is a sense of calm, we're only going halfway. We
Mhm.
don't get that all the way through our torso. So some interesting things to consider. Um, Last question. When I asked you to squeeze all the air out of your body, did anyone feel a little anxious or like worried at all with that?
Yeah.
Mm. It's just that when, even though you're in control, when's that air going to come? Or when am I going to hit rock bottom? And again, making all these connections between the mental and the breath.
Mhm.
Uh, this simple, quote unquote, these types of things, making it more, having a mindfulness about your breath. If you are someone that struggles with anxiety, it's again something that you can control and pay attention to. Right? It is a way to use your brain to literally link into your physical being through the breath. And so the idea, if you felt anxious, is again to go just like any other skill, practice it more and more. And we'll have like a whole week on breathing, but that you can empty out. And the work, this is the other piece, the work happens on the exhale and the body does its thing on the inhale. Typically, myself included, we reverse that process. We work to get in and keep, and then we let the body exhale. But if we work to let go, literally and figuratively, work on the exhale, we find that the inhale, the life system, all that stuff is natural and we trust it. Just like when we breathe in, we trust there's an exhale, right? We, if we breathe out, we'll trust there's an inhale. I don't want to get too like into the stratosphere and all that stuff, but I really want you to kind of recognize that all this stuff is connected. Okay, stop recording there.